Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm in Fuego here, and this is also in Fuego-tainment, because we're crossing the streams. Yeah, baby.
And today we're doing an in-theater review, which is a little different for the Horror Show, not so different for In Fuego-tainment, but this time we decided to do a horror movie that's in theaters now, and we didn't want to wait to do the review until the DVD came out so I can pull clips and everything. So you're going to see less clips in this one than usual for a Horror Show review, but Jaime and I just couldn't wait to go check out this movie and tell you guys about it. So
Exactly right. And it's the newest Shamhammer film, and he has really been kind of hamming it up for his last few pictures, I must say. Would you agree?
Otherwise known as M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, I should speak specifically. And for a guy that started out his career so magnificently, he's kind of lost steam.
He has lost steam. I mean, he might have lost his way a little bit, maybe gotten a tiny bit taken away with himself from Lady in the Water and
No
a couple
comment.
of other ones. Yeah, but he does indeed have talent. I've always been a fan of The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, and I even kind of like The Village a little bit. So
Signs.
yeah, Signs was
Yeah.
also good. Yeah, so, a lot of people give him a lot of guff, but we wanted to give him an honest shake for his new movie, The Visit.
Exactly.
So, Jaime, why don't we go ahead and do things your way this time, all right? So, let's do it how Jaime would do it on In Fuego-tainment. Why don't you tell him how that is?
It's a pleasure and an honor. So here at In Fuego-tainment, we basically like to cover the bueno, the malo, and the feo. So we're going to see a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, and then some ugly in this film. And there is a nice sprinkling of everything in this. So
Yep.
it's not going to be one-sided like the Amazing Turbo Kid or the god-awful Minions or Fantastic Four.
Yep, exactly, which we've also done for In Fuego-tainment. If you're interested in that and you're watching the Horror Show for this, go check out In Fuego-tainment because we did summer movie reviews the entire summer of 2015. If you don't get enough of us here, you can go check out our thoughts on those movies as well. So, Jaime, why don't you lead off with your first bueno?
First bueno for me would definitely be just the frightening aspect of the premise itself. Going to visit grandparents that you don't know, and they're senile, borderline dementia. I actually got to experience a close friend's grandmother experiencing dementia, firsthand, and the acting was good by both of the older, counterparts, and it was convincing and frightening, and it really just kind of hit home after that recent experience, because that must be as frightening of a real thing to encounter as anything, right? Yeah.
I'd say so. Now, my first bueno is going to be something that at first in the movie I didn't think was going to be a bueno, and that was the acting of the kids. Okay, so I liked the boy, the little boy. They had him do a couple things, like he was a freestyle rapper. It seemed a little bit out of place. It seemed a little out of place, so I'll let you talk about that. But other than that, I thought he was a pretty good little actor, and the girl was pretty good too. So as you said, the parents' acting was good, but I did want to give the kids a shout out because while it's a little odd at first, the way things are presented, they still were fun to watch in the movie. So do you have another bueno you can talk about?
Well, I just want to comment more on what you said. I thought the chemistry between the two siblings was really good. They actually felt like brother and sister,
Yes,
and especially not just during the silly moments where you could kind of sense the sense of humor that came down and trickled from the mother and whatnot. They both had kind of a snide kind of sarcasm to themselves, and they just, from their mannerisms to the way they joke, even the way they talk to the camera together in the midst of this. It's a found footage film, and I have mixed feelings about those type of films, but this was definitely, based on the acting and the premise, a cut above most of those.
Yes, I agree. And did you have another bueno you wanted to mention?
I could definitely mention the fact that the scares, once they finally came, and they built they almost gave you a false sense of security with the humor that they plugged in there. And the humor didn't always work, and I'll get to that with the malo, but it definitely, once it really started simmering, it was almost like a slow boil that once the steam hit your face, it was really arresting.
Yeah, I agree. And my other bueno was going to be the scares that were there as well, because there were a couple of truly unnerving things that they did. Again, it is found footage, so you got to take that with a grain of salt, but
it did it well.
And there was a particular hide and seek game that got to me pretty well. I thought that was pretty well done. So
Seriously.
I did like that. Now, I'm going to use that to segue into the first malo that I have, and that is that there weren't enough of these scares.
No.
They were good, and it built to them, but there wasn't enough of them.
It was more humorous than I was expecting it to be.
Right. And it was definitely of a certain ilk, which I'll talk about in my feo, that just wasn't necessarily for me. And as a horror fan, and as someone that, as you know, we watch a lot of horror movies for this show and outside of this show, and it just wasn't enough scary for me. Like, it was a good, clever premise, and there was something that was good at the end. Actually, I will mention one more bueno, and that was the typical Shyamalan twist. Was pretty effective. Yeah. It was pretty effective. It came a little earlier than usual in his movies, but...
It's usually right at the end.
yeah, but this time it came basically leading into a really short third act, and it was good. It was like, ooh, it suddenly ratcheted the tension level up, you know? And so I dug that, but yeah, going back to the malo, it's just not enough scares for me.
Yeah, it was kind of disjointed in a lot of ways, and I think, you know, that false sense of security they were trying to instill within you with all the humor, they almost overdid it with the humor. It's a really fine line when you're balancing those two different, I mean, they're really despondent types of characteristics in a movie, and I mean, it didn't always hit when it was funny, which is the one thing I was going to mention as a malo, is that the mom, I felt like her humor, even though it kind of made sense with the trickling down to the kids and their sarcasm and everything, I just didn't like her character. She kind of irked me, and I did not like the hip-hop. I'm sorry, the kid thinks he's like a mix between Macklemore and Slim Shady or something. I don't know. He came off more to me like when the guy from Blur is rapping in the Gorillaz, and that just...
Well, he even compares himself to Tyler, the Creator, in the movie, and I'm not a huge... I don't really know Tyler, the Creator, that much, so I can't judge for that, but I know that, I mean, he's
talking about lining up the chicks.
And it's just really weird coming out of like a 13-year-old kid's mouth, and I mean, it's a lot of confidence, which is kind of funny to see. It's like almost misplaced confidence, but
in certain points it worked well. I mean, but the kid, just like with everything in this film, you know, this film, I hate to say it could have been great, but at the end of the day, it was just good for the sheer fact that it had so many great ideas going on and had good performances, but it didn't harness them quite as well as it could have. But at least compared to what Shamhammer had done for the last few, you know, movies, I mean, God, I hated the happening so much. I just really, that was the one that really made me think, this guy can't do anything anymore, and that's why I didn't see Lady in the Water, which you told me was so bad. Yeah. I didn't see the Last Airbender, and I'd kind of sworn him off up until this one, and this was at least, well, not a return to form. It was a lot better than everything else he's done recently.
Now, before we briefly move into the Feo, we've talked about the acting. Let's talk about, there weren't really many effects or anything to speak of.
Well, it was very low budget compared to the type of money he's had recently.
So. Right, exactly. I think it was only like $5 million or something like that, which is, a big cutback for him, but still a lot of money to work with.
Made its money back by now because it's done well at the box office.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit of CG with some movements, and then a little bit of practical with something that could be considered Feo also, which I'll go ahead and use the segue in.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention it, but perhaps
go ahead. No, please, by all means, go ahead. I think we're going to talk about the same thing here.
Yeah, in all honesty, I was blinded just like the kid in this movie, and it really was... It's kind of horrifying, and that's what it was meant for shock value, and it was one of the things that was effective as far as just emphasizing the mental state of these characters in the movie. You know.
And what specifically are you referring to, though?
We're talking about lack of clothing, older women. I mean, I guess seeing a big schlong or something would have been way worse, but it is a PG-13 movie, and I'm not going to be like Adam Sandler, you got old balls or something. But it could have been worse, but there is actually something with an old man and
a dirty diaper.
A dirty diaper. We're not going to say anything else beyond that, but that was the one scene in the movie that made me wince.
Yeah, it was really rough, and you're just like, oh, no. Yeah,
and the girls seated beside us in the theater were just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Revolting.
It was an aggressive part, and my Feo isn't quite so on the nose as a Feo, because those were definitely Feo things.
You said on the nose. Inside joke.
If you've seen the movie, you get it. But yeah, the thing that I thought was a little Feo was that it seemed geared to kids 12 to 15, and that's
a PG-13 movie.
I mean, that's it though. A lot of PG-13 horror are reaching for an older audience as well. It's
albeit not sharper gory. Kids than your actual, probably target demographic, because the kids, both the dialogue was snappy and they delivered it well, and there was kind of a moderately meta, self-referential kind of just like awareness to these kids, which I thought was kind of cool. And the fact that she was a filmmaker, this is unfortunately going back to the bueno, but I actually liked the fact that the young girl was trying, that she was an aspiring filmmaker.
But she was obviously, she was having like college girl thoughts at age 15, and it was like, okay, well, it just seems a little weird coming out of her mouth, some of the things she was saying, because everyone has that sort of introspection, but not until a few years later. So yeah, I guess they were just precocious, but it just felt a little off.
About the college person with a story to tell that seems so important, right?
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. But yeah, all in all, it was a good movie. It wasn't great. It was not achieving the levels of the first two. I guess it was kind of as okay as
first two Shyamalan movies.
Yeah. It wasn't as enjoyable as Signs either. It was basically on the level with The Village, in my opinion. Just kind of okay.
The Village. I hated The Village because of the fact, and this will be my last fail that I wanted to mention. Sham Hammer is notorious for his twist. Like, anytime you see one of his movies, you know a twist is going to happen. And I think for me, that almost took me out of it a little bit, because I was just racking my brain over what's the twist going to be, Are they going to sacrifice these kids? Are they actually crazy? And thankfully, it didn't end up being the twist that I was expecting, which was at least good, and that's what elevates this film a little bit. But yeah, those preconceptions were probably an ugly aspect that I went into knowing things weren't going to be what they seemed, as opposed to, maybe they are and they're not. I mean, maybe it is face value or,
right.
Whatever. Just because he's notorious for that, it was inevitable for me to think that way.
Right. But yeah, I think that about covers the film. How about you?
It does, yeah. I mean, I would honestly say make your own judgments about the visits, you know?
Don't rush out to the theater. You don't need to do that.
No, we made the mistake of doing that. But, I'd say solid 3 stars. It's not quite certified Fuego, but definitely worth making your own judgment about.
Yeah, rent it from Redbox once it hits, and you should be all set. $1.50 is probably plenty to pay for this one.
Exactly. Entertaining enough, but nothing that's going to stick with me for the long run.
No, for sure. So thanks very much for joining us, and we will be back for more reviews and news. As you guys know, we're coming into October, where there's a lot of horror movies coming out that Jaime and I want to check out, so we'll probably be doing some more in-theater reviews for the horror show, so stay tuned for those, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks again for watching, you guys. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime Fuego.
And remember,
stay scared. We own this town.
What?